Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing this evening? I am pulling out of Burger King right now. I just went and got I have not eaten since, well, yesterday I had some treats for the plane, but other than that, I have not eaten since yesterday. Well, I think it was yesterday on the beach, the grilled cheese and fries that I had, and I am starving. And it is 10:02 p.m. and I just dropped Tanya Jean off. We went to the meeting tonight, and it was a good meeting. It was a really good meeting, and I heard a lot of things I needed to hear, and so now I'm on my way home. It's been a good day. It feels like it's been a long day. I got up today and I went and got my coffee. I used my new iridescent mug for the very first time. And I love this mug. It's so pretty, isn't it? So I used this for the first time. It's got ice in it. But other than that, there's just a little bit of like watered down coffee. And I did a review on my review channel of the, I don't even know what it's called, toasted. Oh, which one is this? Oh, this is the Two Below Honey. I haven't used this in a long time. I thought it was the coffee one. I'm kind of obsessed with that coffee from Treat Beauty. It's like my favorite. Oh, I forgot how much I like that. Anyway. This tastes just like honey. It's so hot in here. It's well, now it's 11 degrees out. It was 10 degrees, now it's 11 degrees out. And snow everywhere. It is freezing here today. The wind has been blowing all day. And I was just telling Tanya, like, I'm really ready for Christmas. I'm really kind of ready for winter a little bit. I like the snow. I'm not ready for 10 and 11 degree weather. Like, that's Arctic. And especially when it's windy outside, because that brings down the wind chill factor. You know, I'm cool with like 25, 30 and snow, but like 10 degrees is really cold. Not to mention that yesterday I was in 82 degree weather, so it's what, 71 degrees colder here than it was in Florida yesterday. I mean, that's crazy if you think about it, right? So anyway, yeah, I had a good day. I went and got coffee, and then I did a review at Starbucks, and I got like a Sierra Mist or a Sprite or whatever they have at Burger King to drink. So I was like, I've had enough caffeine for today. So I did that review, and then I had to go pick up some of PP's medication. And then I went to the post office, and then what did I do after the post office? Oh, then I went and picked up the pups from the hotel, from the kennel. They were so excited to see me. They had gotten baths, and they looked so cute, and they all have new bandanas on, and they were so excited. They all came running out, and they were so excited to see me. And Boo Radley, he usually, like, they carry him out, and like he's just kind of like, what's going on? And then, like, you know, PP kind of just runs around, and like Tucker's the one that's usually real excited to see me. But today, like, Boo Radley came out and he saw me, and he just like went crazy. And then Tucker went crazy, of course, always. And then PP was like, saw me and he started crying. It was so sweet. So brought them home. And then I filmed a video for my Peter Monn channel, and then I filmed a video on my Peterisms channel, kind of about some things I talked about on here the other day about my friend's passing, and how I wanted to apply some lessons to my life and stuff. So tomorrow I have her viewing in the afternoon. I think it's from 4 to 8. And I'm sure it's gonna be absolutely packed. I mean, she knew so many people. I'm sure it'll be just like a line a mile long. So I'm gonna try to get there close to when it starts. Yeah. There's some people there that I want to see, you know. Some of these women that I haven't seen in a while, and some of them have reached out to me, and it's really nice. And one of her friends reached out to me last night, and then we were talking today. It was just really nice to hear from her. And so, think about people that bring people together. You know, she was one of those people that like brought people together. And I don't know. So that's tomorrow, and then so that was what I did. I filmed those videos, and then I got ready, and then Alex came home. He had to go, he like, something happened to his phone, so he had to go to the Apple store, and then he came home like 10 minutes before I was leaving, so we talked for like 10 minutes, and then I left, and he was just kind of hanging out. He was like hanging out all evening and unpacking and stuff like that, and now I am on my way home, and I'm gonna eat my dinner, and then I may lay down for a little bit. We like, you can see it's like late from the meeting, because we got out of the meeting at like 10 till 9. Our meeting like got done early by like 10 minutes. We were the last group, and because the meeting that I go to, we split up into groups, and we were like the last group that got out, and it was like 10 till 9. And so we stood around and talked for like, I don't know, like 40 minutes, and then I took Tanya to go get a fountain pop, because she wanted a fountain pop, and yeah, and then that was it, and I took her home, but we hung out and talked to a bunch of our friends for a while. It was really nice to see some people. It's like interesting, because, you know, like a lot of people that, there are a lot of people that like go other places for parts of the year, and then they come home, and so you see different people that you haven't seen forever, and tonight was kind of that. There were a couple, it was a small meeting tonight, but there were a couple people that were there that I hadn't seen in a while. So, but it was good. I feel just very centered. I'm just very blessed and very grateful today for my life. And the meeting even brought me more to kind of like the spiritual place, obviously. I always feel like that when I leave a meeting. But it really put things in perspective for me, you know? And it was like, I was like, I've learned some valuable lessons recently. I've learned about patience and, you know, letting go and letting God in the way that I believe in higher power. And you know, that's kind of what I do with my life today, is kind of I evaluate things and look at things and go, okay, like who do I want to be going forward? What do I want my life to look like? What, you know, what control do I have? That was a lot of what it was, that it was about, you know, like what control do I have in my life today, and over, you know, other people, places, and things. And none, really. I have none, but I do have control over me. So, but yeah, it was a great meeting, and I feel very spiritual and just very centered and soul-centered right now, you know, and it's been a calm day, relaxing day, so it's good. Listened to some of my audiobook last night. I'm loving that book, Let It Snow. The Netflix movie is out, and I really want to see it, but I would highly recommend reading the book first, because if the movie is like an exact replica of the book, then I would really recommend reading the book. The book is so good that like this is definitely a book that I would want to read first, because if I saw the movie, I probably wouldn't go back and read the book. That's just who I am. I don't, like, if I've seen the movie, I don't read the book, no matter how good or bad it was, because it's boring to me to read this same thing, you know, that I've already read. So yeah, so I'm towards the end, I think, of like the second story, and I don't know what the third story is about, but I'm excited. And it's like 3 stories that all take place in this blizzard on Christmas Eve, and they kind of all take place at the same time, but it's like 3 different stories about 3 different, you know, groups of people. And it's really good, though. There's something just, I don't know, magical about reading about a blizzard on Christmas Eve, and these people are like trapped in this town, you know? So I like it, it's good. I'm really excited to see the movie, but I want to finish the book first, so gonna do that, and then the next book that I'm gonna read is gonna be Dope Sick. I'm gonna read the book club book next, because I don't want to be waiting till the very last minute to get it done. I actually need to get on Audible and buy that, so. All right, well listen, I am gonna get off here now, and I'm almost home, and I'm gonna eat my food and then rest for a little bit. I think I may watch an episode of Dragula while I'm eating, because Alex is probably catching up on some shows, so. All right, you guys, I love you, and I will be back in just a little while. Bye. Hello, hello, hello. I'm back, and it is 6:11 a.m. I ate my food and watched like half an episode of Dragula, and I was asleep. I went upstairs, and I brought little Boo Radley upstairs with me. And then about 5 minutes later, Pee-Pee walked upstairs, and I think Alex was watching TV, and I fell fast asleep. And he woke me up like 3 times. He was like, are you gonna get up? And I was like, yeah, I don't want to. It's so cold. I knew it was so cold outside. And I was like, So then the dogs got up, and I had to take them out. So it's like, okay, just throw your clothes on, and let's do it. So I was driving around listening to a little bit of Christmas music first. And it was funny that, well, I always say it's funny, when I mean interesting. This version of Silent Night came on that I love. It's like this 40s version of Silent Night. It's just very still. And I have my friend's viewing today. I was just thinking about, like, I was driving around listening to some music before I started vlogging, and I was just like thinking about like my life and all the people that I've lost. I was thinking about, like, you know, like past Christmases and the people that aren't here anymore, and you know, how the holidays kind of like change from year to year to year. You know, it's like, I think for, you know, a long time, I don't know if this is just, I think this is most of our experience, you know, that when you have like the same Christmas or the same holiday traditions year after year, and you know, it's grandma or whoever, you know, your mom, your dad, or you know, whatever, like you never really expect that to change. Like you just kind of take for granted that it's going to be that way forever, which I think is why like holidays are really hard for people sometimes. I haven't necessarily had that. Like I haven't necessarily had that experience where holidays are really hard for me. I know for my cousin Caroline it's different. Like she's really struggled with it since her mom and dad are gone. But for me, I didn't have it as much. I mean, it was more, I think, the day-to-day things that were hard for me. Like when I think about like grieving, and you know, and now, I mean, it's been so long since my mom's been gone, it's not like I don't really think about it consciously, but like the things that have been hardest, like the last, or like the first couple years were like the good things that had happened, you know, like not being able to pick up the phone and tell my mom something good that had happened or something funny that had happened, you know, be like wanting to call her and be like, oh my God, I heard this song today, I was thinking of you, or, you know, to call her and be like, did you see this movie, like, do you think it'll win an Oscar, or, you know, that kind of stuff, that kind of like mundane stuff that was our conversations. You know, I think those are the things that are hardest, or like introducing her to Alex, and or just like, you know, the good things. Like, you know, I think about YouTube a lot with like my mom. I mean, in some ways I think like it's a good thing that she's not here for it. I don't think she really would have understood it. I think she really would have had a hard time with a lot of, like, I think she would have, like, she would have thought the overwhelming amount of, like, love was really cool. And very nice. But I think she equally would have thought the cruelty was, like, hardcore. I don't talk about that aspect on here a lot, but there's a lot, like, that I think, there's a lot of cruelty that I think YouTubers get that they don't, like, shine a light on, that sometimes it just becomes too much, you know? It's like, okay, one person can only handle so much, and so then the people around us are like the ones that hear it, and I don't know that my mom could have handled that. Like, I think she would have been like, I think she would have just been like, I think you just need to not do this anymore. Like, I think that would have been her answer, you know, like, she wouldn't have understood it. My mom was somebody that really didn't understand the cruelty of the world anyway. Like, it just didn't make any sense to her. So, like, she would really question things. Like, when I told her about, like, being bullied growing up and stuff like that, like, she just didn't really understand it. Like, she understood, like, kids making, I need gas, and I'm like, don't want to get out of the car when it's 11 degrees. Like, she understood that kids would make fun of somebody, like, being effeminate or whatever, but, like, her go-to for that was, tell me who their parents are, and I'm going to say something to that. And I was, like, in my, you know, like, 20s or 30s at that point. Like, she didn't, like, really understand that. By that point, like, you know, I had had some kind of revelations of my own about it, and without excusing it, you know, understanding that kids are kids and kids are cruel sometimes. And so, but I don't know, you know, it's like weird. It's like, you know, Christmas looked the same for me for every year for, you know, most of my life. And then when my mom died, it was like all of a sudden Christmas looked completely different, you know? And but like that year was so weird for me anyway, because, you know, one Christmas, I mean, this is literally how it was, you know, it's like one Christmas, we're in Gatlinburg, and it's my mom and I, and my ex and I had broken up earlier in the month, because we broke up like the beginning of the month of December, and then that was our last Christmas, and it was just the two of us, you know, in Gatlinburg. And then she passes away, and then I meet Alex, and, well, I met him earlier in the year, but we started, you know, dating in August, and then by that Christmas, I'm with his family, you know, and he's with, like, you know, Caroline and my aunt and uncle. And so Christmas all of a sudden looks completely different from in 1 year, you know? The Christmas before, you know, like, I was working, you know, in treatment. The Christmas after, I had resigned. So, like, it looked so completely different, you know, from one Christmas to the next. And it's just weird, you know, how life is, and things change like that, you know? And I think, like, that kind of just, like, that normalcy of what it looks like day in and day out, like, we become used to, and we just think it's going to be like that forever. And then it's not, and it changes. And I think it's like, I think sometimes we don't know what to do with that. I don't know, maybe I'm just speaking for myself. Sometimes I don't know what to do with that. You know, it's like, Like, Christmases since my aunt and uncle are gone are really different. Like, they really are. And I don't think it's just because my aunt and uncle are gone. I think it's because my aunt, my uncle, and my mom are gone. It's like an entire, like it's like all the traditions are different now. You know, like Caroline and I do things differently, and I don't know, it just feels different, you know? I guess I really don't know, like, what, you know, like, the answer to that with, like, how to get through that at, you know, the holiday times. I know people really have a hard time with the holidays, with, like, you know, having lost loved ones, you know. It's like you want to celebrate the holidays and you want to enjoy them, and it's like, at the same time, it's just like, you know. I don't know, it's weird. Like, I've had so many friends of mine that have lost, like, loved ones, you know, and then, like, they really just don't even want to celebrate the holidays after that. It's like, no, Christmas isn't the same for me anymore. And I'm like, you know, I think on one hand I understand it, and on the other hand, I'm like, I think our loved ones would want us to continue to, you know, celebrate the holidays, and I don't know, maybe do something different, you know, than we did before. I mean, I was so blessed to all of a sudden have Alex's family, you know, to, like, have, like, because they had been doing, of course, you know, the holidays the same way forever, so, but I was blessed to, you know, all of a sudden have this new family to do things with, and new traditions and whatnot, you know, but, like, I know a lot of people don't have that, and I know a lot of people are just completely alone, you know. Like, my dad and my stepmom really don't do a whole lot for the holidays. They usually did stuff with my stepmom's dad, like on Christmas Eve. They would take him to Mass, and then they would take him out to dinner, and, or church or whatever, and then they would take him out to dinner, and then they go to bed so early anyway. And then Christmas Day, I think sometimes they would do stuff with, like, her mom, but I don't even know that they do that, you know, like, that side of the family anymore. Because my stepmom's parents are divorced, or were divorced, and, so, they just don't, like, do a whole lot for the holidays. My dad is, like, so private, he just kind of likes to stay, you know, at the house, and, I mean, not so much with, like, people, like, friends and stuff like that. He just doesn't, you know, back in the day, he would host, like, a big Thanksgiving sometimes, and, like, all of his family would come down, you know, like every couple years. They don't do that anymore. And, you know, my aunts and uncles, my dad's brothers, you know, well, his brother has passed, but his sisters are so much older that for them to travel, I mean, you know, it doesn't really happen. My dad is 79. And he's the youngest of 5, so my aunts are, like, in their 80s, and, so for them to travel down here, I mean, it's like a trek, you know. I think a couple years ago, maybe for Easter, I don't remember when it was, they went up there. But, you know, like, what's interesting to me is that, like, I know, like, a lot of people whose, like, families just don't do a whole lot for the holidays. You know, like, with my dad and I, it's like, that's not a weird thing, because, like, when I grew up, like, I've shared on here, you know, like, I was always with my dad on, like, the 22nd and the 23rd, or the 23rd, and then, like, the day of the 24th. So, like, that's how it has always been for my dad and I. So for us to not see each other on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day is like not unusual. And it's always kind of been that way. I mean, we always talk and stuff like that, but it's not like, you know, unusual for us to not see each other those days. A couple of years ago, I can't remember where Alex's family was that day. I think it was like 1 year, I think it was the Christmas before Carlos and Liliana moved here, and Carlitos was born. Alex's mom and Fufu went to Venezuela that Christmas. And I think, yeah, I think so. I think they all did. I think there was like a bunch of them. And it was just us. And it was like, Christmas Eve, we were with Alex's aunt and uncle. And like his mom came up and stuff like that. But then Christmas Day, my dad made this Christmas Day meal. It was really sweet. And he like got online. My dad's a fantastic cook. And he got online, and he likes to try like really different stuff. And he found out like what a traditional Venezuelan Christmas looks like. And we had planned it out like weeks in advance. It was so nice. It was so sweet. And he had like found out like what a traditional like Venezuelan Christmas looks like, and like the menu. And so he had like literally like found like some deli in like New York or something, and he had ordered like some of this stuff already made, and then he made some of it on his own. And he like found like some Venezuelan bottle of wine for them, and it was very cool. And he made like he made these Christmas desserts that were like Venezuelan desserts that you would have at Christmas time, and he had like Christmas Venezuelan music, and it was really nice because he knew that like Alex was missing his family that year. And it was really sweet. And that was 1 year we did that. I don't remember how long ago that was. Well, Carlitos is 7, so it would have been 6 years. It would have been 7 years ago. Yeah, it would have been 7 years ago, because they went over there when he was a month old, and then they came here the following year. Oh man, I can't believe we have so much snow on the ground in early November. It's crazy. I'm really excited for the holiday season this year, though. Do you ever wonder where all like the little animals go, like when it gets really cold outside like this? I mean, I'm sure like, because like our dogs don't even like to go outside. Like I just took them outside before I left, and they like literally like walked outside for like 2 seconds and they were done. They like peed and they were done. They were like, put me back inside, you know? And I think a lot of it is because they're probably just not used to it, you know, because they're so, you know, like in the house all the time. But so many animals are just, you know, like I mean, obviously most animals live outside. And it makes you wonder, like, if they get cold or how they deal with that, you know? I just thought about something the other day that I wanted to talk about on here. And it was like something that was just like so like random. Do you ever like have some random thought about something that's so just like, I was like, do you ever think about ... And it was just like so random and so weird. Oh, I know what I was gonna say. I was thinking about, okay, so like every once in a while, like when I talk about audiobooks, I'll get somebody that'll be like, audiobooks aren't reading, blah, 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 which is funny because, like, on BookTube, like, I would say 99% of booktubers consider any form of reading, whether it's an ebook or an audiobook or a poem or a graphic novel or whatever, they consider it reading, right? It's like, first of all, okay, we're doing it because we enjoy it. We're not doing it because we're, like, passing, like, some huge test, okay? Like, this is for enjoyment. So no matter how you enjoy the process of reading, whether it's listening to an audiobook or reading a physical copy or whatever, it's like, there's really no difference there. And what's interesting is that when people come to me and they say that, okay, you know, like, my book had an audio version of it. So and people have, like, been contacting me and been like, I can't find your book, I can't find your book, I can't find your book. So I'm in the process of changing publishers. And so the book will be back up. It's being revised and re-edited. And so it will be back up. That's what the issue is with the book right now. So that's, like, partly some of me working on a new book. And anyway, but when I had my audiobook up and I, you know, had to audition the actor to read the part and all that kind of stuff, like, if you had said to me, do you feel like if somebody buys your audiobook, as the writer, as the author, if somebody buys your audiobook and they listen to it, do you feel like that is the same thing as reading and experiencing your book? And I would have said absolutely, right? Well, what's interesting is that when I started my BookTube channel, and I actually think that she read my book. Like, I think she got an audio copy of my book and listened to it. And she wasn't the only one. There were, like, 2 or 3 people that were followers of BookTube that were blind, that listened to my, you know, channel and whatever and watched my videos. And I was thinking about that the other day. I was thinking about, like, because somebody had left a comment about reading audio or listening to audiobooks isn't reading. Just such a stupid thing for me. I just, you know, it's like, I don't know. I don't even choose to get into that argument because I'm like, it is what it is, right? I like to listen to audiobooks. I enjoy it. It's not that deep for me. If you want to say I've never read a book in my life because I listen to audiobooks, that's fine. Feel free to run with that. But I was thinking about, you know, like, the whole idea of audiobooks for people that can't physically read books. They can't physically read books, you know? And how cool that is that we have audiobooks now, you know? And then for some reason I was, like, sitting in, like, I was thinking about that in the bathroom, like, while I was taking my contacts out. And I'm, like, really not that, like, my eyesight's really not that bad. I think it's, like, negative 1.5, and in both eyes. I have the same prescription in both eyes, and so my eyesight's not that bad. Like, I can see without my contacts or glasses, but now, because I wear my contacts literally all the time, and I have for years, like, it is blurry when I have my contacts out. So, like, I had taken my contacts out, and I was, like, looking for my glasses because I had packed them, and for our trip, and I couldn't find them, and I was like, where did I put them? And I was like, I think they're in my backpack downstairs that I had already emptied, and I was like, I don't remember them being in there. Like, where did I put them? Did I leave them in Florida? So anyway, and I was thinking about it, and I was like, I was thinking about, like, I know this is so stupid, but you guys ever just, like, go, like, in your head, you're just, like, on this whole, like, thought process of something that you never think about. I was thinking about people that, like, are in, like, you know, third world countries that have no access to glasses or contacts or eye exams, you know? Or long before, you know, like, on this world that we ever had, like, eye doctors or eye exams or glasses or contacts. I mean, it really, to be honest, when you, it was at the end and I didn't know it. When you look at, you know, our world on that spectrum, I mean, it is, what, I mean, we're 200 years out from that or something. Like, it hasn't been that long in the grand scheme of things, right? When you think about things. I mean, I have no idea what the date was. I could look it up when, you know, glasses and stuff like that were invented. But, I mean, the reality is it hasn't been that long, okay? Now, my eyesight is not horrible. Like, if I didn't have my glasses and my contacts on, like, over a period of time, I know how I was thinking about it. I was thinking about it on, like, well, first I started with the audiobook, and then it went to, I was like, you know, like, whatever. And then it went to, like, if you were on a deserted island and you didn't have your glasses, like, how would you get around and how would you see? And I was thinking to myself, you know, that, like, over time, for me, just for me, because my eyesight's not that horrible, that I would be able to, I think I would kind of get used to not seeing, and I think, oh, the sunrise is coming up, it's so pretty, that over time I could kind of see to some level, right? But like my mother she could hardly see. Like her eyesight was horrible. Like without her glasses, she could not see a foot in front of her. And, which then got complicated later when she had to have bifocals because, you know, she needed reading glasses, so it got like 10 times worse. So I was thinking about that, and I was like, what did people do? You know, that like, I don't know, it was just like a weird concept for me that, like long before we had glasses invented, you know? Or eye exams or eye doctors, you know, that could... It's funny, like, and I was thinking, you know, like that's something that to be grateful for and, you know, not take for granted that, especially as your eyes, you know, like I think change as you get older, and then there's people that have like serious, you know, vision issues, or like I said, you know, like I had several people like on my channel that were blind, which I thought was such a cool thing that, you know, they were still really actively involved in BookTube. Having really mixed emotions about this viewing today. I mean, of course I'll go, but you know, it's weird, like I don't have any problem getting on video. Like, this is weird, actually. I don't have any problem getting on video and showing emotions and crying. But I kind of have an issue in, like, public doing that. Like, if I, you know, share my story, like in a recovery meeting, like in my lead, I always get very emotional when I talk about, you know, that stuff. And at least at some point in my story, I always get very emotional. You know, or when I go to viewings and funerals and things like that, I get very emotional. And, you know, like I remember a couple years ago, like Alex's family, like his mom is emotional, Liliana is emotional, but like his brothers are not, like, they're not people that show their emotions. And, you know, in the last couple years, like Alex has been somebody that has really like kind of tuned in to showing his emotions. And, I I don't remember a couple years ago when it was, but it was Thanksgiving, and we had to go around, and like whoever was like to our left we had to say something that was like, we were really thankful for with them. And Liliana was to my left. And so we're like all standing there in a circle. Like his mom always likes to do this kind of stuff, which is so totally how my mom and my aunt were too. My mom and my aunt and Alex's mom would have gotten along so well. So we're like sitting there, and well, my aunt knew them, but she didn't like hang out with them a whole lot. But anyway, so we're sitting there, and it's like going around the circle, and I'm like one of the last people to have to say something, and Liliana is to my left. So Liliana is the one that I have to like, you know, say what I'm grateful for or whatever. And like, and I can kind of like, before it happens, like with like when I get real emotional, because I'm just such a like, however I'm feeling is what I allow. I just allow it. Like I don't, you know, like I think when I was growing up, I was kind of emotionally numb about things, because I learned over time, you don't let anybody see like pain. You don't let them see that, right? And so I kind of just like over time, just like whatever. And so, like I was not like an emotional kid, and I've talked about that a lot. And I don't really, like looking back, remember a whole lot of why I wasn't. I just don't remember, like my dad has even said it. He's like, you like never cried as a kid. Like you just weren't that kid, you know? And I mean, he's like, you know, like if you got hurt or something, sure. But like other than that, we were talking about this the other day too. I was talking about it with my dad. He said, you had like a really, like, he goes, I remember as a kid, like you had a really high threshold for pain. I had two things happen when I was growing up. One of which was I was standing in my dad's sunroof of his car when I was growing up. My dad had this like sports car, and I had my hand like inside the door, and he didn't know it, and he slammed the door. And so my finger like broke or something, I can't remember. And like, he said you were just kind of like in shock for a second. And he was like, then I like, he like splinted and did all this stuff himself. And he was like, you didn't like cry at all. And he goes, he was like, you were so well behaved, like through that, like, you know, whole thing. Like you just didn't really respond a whole lot. He goes, and I can remember thinking to myself, Jesus, like this has to be so painful for this kid. And, just for those people that want to know why my dad was the one that did it, he's a hand reconstructionist. So he was well aware of how to handle situations like this. And the other thing that happened was that, so we had this wood door at the house I grew up in, at my mom's house, and it was about that thick, this front door, like no lie, it was like this huge front door. We were leaving, it was another time I was with my dad, and we were leaving, and I should show you guys this, hold on a second. So at the time, I'm about 7 years old, okay? And, well, it would have been right after they got divorced. So 7 or 8, something like that. And, I'm turning around in this, like, urgent care. And, I slammed my finger. And, well, like, I was leaving, and, like, I think I like the door slammed or something. And which finger is it? You can still see it. It's my middle finger, so I have to be careful the way that I show it. So anyway, my dad went into the kitchen and sewed me up because like it was bleeding so horribly. My dad literally sewed me up like on the kitchen counter, and I don't know if you can see it still. The light in here, of course, is so bad, but it's like right here. I'll have to show it to you in like the light sometime. But I still have the scar from that. It's crazy. And he said, you like, and I do remember this. Like I can see myself like standing there, and like the skin just like literally came off my finger. And he was like, the reason he sewed it up so quick was like, he was like, if I didn't sew it up right then, you would have probably lost that skin on your finger. And he was like, so I was like, okay, it's now or never. So, he sewed it up, and then I remember afterwards, we got to go, I mean, he of course like sterilized it and all that kind of stuff. My dad back in the day always like carried that stuff. The doctors always carried that stuff like in a doctor's bag with him in the car. So he had like, you know, whatever, like, you know, did like a local thing on it and like, you know, and cleaned it up and did all that, whatever with it. But anyway, I remember afterwards, is it a full moon? I think it's a full moon outside. It's so pretty. But I remember afterwards we went to the toy store. I don't know why I remember this. Because I had this huge bandage on my finger, right? And he was like, you can get anything in the entire store that you want. And I got a light bright. And I was so excited. And I love that light bright. I played with that light bright forever. Do you know what? I was thinking about this the other day. Two of my favorite toys when I was a kid were I loved light bright and I loved Lincoln Logs. I would like build cabins with Lincoln Logs forever. Is that not so funny that I loved Gatlinburg, Tennessee, and at the time I loved like, I've always kind of been like a little like obsessed with that like prairie kind of mentality. I don't know why, but anyway. I was gonna say, it seems like so long ago that that happened with my finger. Well, it was long ago. It was 40 years ago, you guys. God. It feels so crazy, doesn't it? Years ago. I remember my old roommate and I would sit around and talk, and she was kind of obsessed with Marilyn Monroe. And Marilyn Monroe, I think, died at 36. And so this is when we were like in our early 20s, right? I lived with her after I got sober too, and she would say, I just can't imagine living past 36. Like when Marilyn Monroe died, she would always say stuff about that. And I can remember thinking to myself, that'll be so weird. Like I can't imagine being 36 either, right? And now I'm 47. Now it's 11 years later. I'm like, that's so crazy. It just kind of happens, you know? It's like my reunion is next year. I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, at first when I found out, I was kind of like excited, and I was kind of like, oh, I'm gonna go and whatever. And then like, the more that I'm seeing stuff about it, I'm kind of like, I don't really know that I want to go. I know this is going to sound bad, but it's like, well, not really bad. I mean, it's just my truth. But, I mean, I in high school literally had like 5 friends, and we did everything together. And school for me was really like 3:10 and after. Like, I didn't care about being at school. I didn't care about my classes. I was a horrible student. I really hated being there. The whole experience for me was just not pleasant. But there were pleasant moments. There were fun moments. You know, I loved my art classes. I took a lot of art classes in high school. You know, I had friends that like I would see in the halls and stuff like that. But like, lunch was always horrible. You know, just like the hallways, the lockers were always horrible. There were only always, like, every semester, like, 2 classes that I felt safe in, or, you know, felt like that I liked, and those were usually my art classes. The rest of my classes, they sucked, and I hated them, and the teachers were not very nice either, typically, or didn't know how to handle the crap that I had to deal with. And so I just didn't love school, you know? And I think, like, for my 10-year reunion, when I went... So, my high school experience, like the good parts of it, like what I enjoyed, what I would want to reunite with, were really those 5 people, right? The rest of it, like, I don't even know half these people's names, other than that they didn't like me. Like, that's really what it is, you know? And so, when I look at that, I'm like, okay. So my 10 year, I went with my friend that I like grew up with, went to like kindergarten, elementary, junior high, high school, college, graduate school, everything with, right? So that was like my 10 year. And I think we went just cause like, well, should we go? Like, I don't remember even like having the conversation with her. I just remember we were like, we're gonna go and see what this is about, right? And I remember like the majority of it, like we went and I remember people got really dressed up for it. It was like a sit down dinner at like the Omni downtown. And I remember people got like really dressed up for it, like guys in suits and girls in dresses. And it was very much like, let me prove how great I am. I mean, it was really that. Like the 10 year it was just crap. And I remember she and I sat and we talked to, so like my friend Misty that I joke about, I haven't talked about Misty a long time in my videos, but my friend Misty that I used to joke about, we talked to her and her husband and just like laughed our butts off. And like, and this other couple, this other girl that we were friends with, and then we just kind of stood out and talked to them the whole time. Like in the, where you like walk in, it was like this like sign-in area. And I looked so completely different. So, you know, when I was in high school, well, first of all, like I graduated and then, so I'm like 5'10" and a half. So I graduated when I was like in high school, I was like short. I was like 5'6". So I graduated and then that summer, like I shot up a little bit, not tons, but enough, you know? And at that point, like I was like working out a lot. When I was in high school, I had really blonde hair and I had different colors of hair in high school. I had blue and I had this and I had that, you know, but I had like, you know, I just had different colors of hair from time to time. And, I can't remember when I did the blue. I think that was over the summer one time. Maybe that was after I graduated from high school. But I had blonde hair the majority of high school, like bleach blonde hair. And, because I used to use it nice and easy. I loved it. So when I went to my high school reunion, I had like pitch black hair. And it was very short. And it was in a faux hawk. And we decided at the last minute to go. And I wore like construction boots, jeans, and like this like vintage Carhartt t-shirt. And I was like in really good shape. Like I was running every day and I was probably in one of the best shapes of my life. And so we go and she's like, my friend is kind of obsessed with like everything she owns is black and she's kind of very Stevie Nicks shawls and all that kind of stuff. And so she's not so much today, but she was back then. And so we went and like, we had to put our name tag on and like everybody else had a name tag with their like picture on it. But since we didn't buy our tickets ahead of time, we like, just because we just showed up, they just like put our name on it. And like people didn't even, I remember my friend kept on saying, people don't even know who we are. Like they didn't even know who we were without looking at our name tags. So like we sat down at our table with our friends and it just was weird. It just like, these weren't like our closest friends in high school. They were like people that we hung out with, but we weren't like super close with them. Like none of our group of friends came. We talked to some people and then we had gotten these books that like came with, that literally had like everybody's picture and where they were at and you like sent in information. And so we went to Applebee's in Waterbull and I remember we sat there and she just kept on saying, I don't know how much we paid, like 60 or 80 bucks to go to this reunion. And I remember she just was like, we paid 60 bucks for this stupid book. And we just like, we literally went through like every name in that book and like read to see where everybody was at. We didn't even know who half these people were that we graduated with, right? So that was like the 10. I don't know why we decided to go to that at the last minute. We were like, should we? Let's just do this. So we did. And then the 20 year, Alex went with me and I went with another one of my friends from high school. That friend didn't go to the 10 year, the one that I originally went with. I went with another friend of mine. And I've talked about that on here a lot. And that was very much, to me, like I walked into that reunion, first of all, I was in great shape. I looked probably the best I've looked in the last 10 years or so, 11 years. And I was there to prove something. I really was. I mean, in all honesty, that's what it was about. It was like, you didn't get the best of me. And, people were so nice, you know? People were so incredibly nice. And that was the reunion where, like, so many people apologized to me, and, like, I could have stayed there all night. Like, we ended up going out to this, like, it's like lounge. We had some friends we were meeting in Broad Ripple, and like this lounge. It's not even there anymore, called Midtown Bar. But anyway, I had such a great time, and Alex had such a great time, and he knew a lot of the people there because of like what he does, and so like he had worked with a lot of the people that I went to high school with, a lot of the girls, and it just was really fun. And I like literally could have stayed there all night. We stayed there for a while, but you know, like I like made friends with so many people, you know, like, I know this is corny, but like so many friends friended me on Facebook like after that, and really wanted to like send me messages. Like, it was so great meeting you, and I never really got to talk to you a lot in high school, and it was really nice, you know, finding out like what you're doing now, and it just was nice. It was really nice. It was like, you know, the 10-year was like, so what are you doing now? So what are you doing now? And like the 20-year, I will say there were probably like 3 or 4 people that were like that. Other than that, it wasn't that at all. It was just like, nobody really cared what anybody was doing, and it was just like, people were just, and you know, that was at the time that like Alex and I were doing Rant, like our website more, and we were interviewing a lot of people, and a lot of people were reading it, and so a lot of people knew that. I don't even know how they knew that, and they were like, oh my god, my wife reads everything that, you know, you put out and whatever, can you talk to her for a second? So people were super, it just was nice. It just was really nice, and it was a really fun experience for Alex and I. And you know, to have been bullied all through high school for being gay, and then to take my, at the time, boyfriend with me, who was my then husband, you know, and show up and be like, I don't care, you know, and they don't care, and everybody's so nice about it, and we all get along, and I'm like, this is how high school should have been. And so that was my 20-year. I went in to prove something, that they didn't get the best of me. I kind of did prove it, but that wasn't, I left there realizing that wasn't really what mattered to begin with, you know? It just wasn't. And it was kind of like, in a weird way, because I believe in God moments and things like that, it was like, you know, that maybe like in some kind of weird way that like God gave me the experience I should have had when I was in high school. I don't know. You know, so, where am I at on time? Oh my god, I've got a minute. So there was that, and, but now, I'm like, what do I need to go for? Like, there's not really anybody that I'm dying to see, except for my small group of friends, which I can tell you, like, the majority of them will not come to a reunion. I mean, my 2 friends that are twins, I don't think they would come. I think they'd be like, we don't think about high school. We don't need to come to high school reunion. You know, my other friend that came to the 20th, I did see her comment on Facebook, and then my other friend that lives close to me, I know she'll go. And then my friend that I went to the 10-year with, she didn't have Facebook. She has no social media. And she and I don't really talk anymore. Randomly, she's the one I ran into at Meyer like a year, well, God, it's been like probably 2 years now. But I don't know, I don't think she'll go. I really find it hard, was at the end again. I really find it hard to believe that she would go. She just kind of isn't into all that stuff. And then I'm like, okay, so there's not really anybody else from high school that I really feel like I need to see. But yet I kind of want to go at the same time. I kind of want to see what people are up to, you know? And I think this is going to be a big deal, because like the 10-year was like a sit-down dinner. And you know what it was too, like, it was very much like, because it was, you know, if you think about it, 10 years, 4 of those years are college, 4 or 5 of those years are college. And so then the other 5 are, you know, like, that's really it. So, it was a lot of the same mentality of high school. It was a lot of the same, like, everybody sitting together, you know, the same popular people shouting and screaming, and it was a lot of that, and I just didn't enjoy it. The 20-year was at this place called Champs. It doesn't exist anymore. Oh my god, they had the best Mile High nachos. But anyway, well, they have it downtown Indianapolis, but they don't have it on the north side anymore where they had it. And they used to have this area that was like over this like lake, man-made like lake reservoir. And then they would have like a band, and they had a band out there, and they had a bunch of food, and it was just really low-key. Like, it was like, I like wore like jeans and like a western shirt. It was just really like it just wasn't any big deal, you know? And, so that was that. And I think the 30th is gonna be like a little bit more serious. Like probably in between the 10 and the 20, like how it was. Because they're like talking about like what band they're gonna hire, and I'm like, I don't really care about all that, you know? Now, a good DJ, that's a different story. But, I mean, I'll go. I know I'll go. I'm not gonna not go. Like, that's the thing, you know? Like, I don't have the same... I mean, my social anxiety is... like, it will take a lot to work me up. Like, when we were going to the 20th, I had bought the tickets. I had talked about it nonstop. I was like, okay, I'm gonna go. And then the day of, like, I remember, like, Alex and my friend and I were standing there in the kitchen, and she didn't really want to go that bad anyway. And, I was like, I can't do this. And Alex was like, what do you mean you can't do this? And I was like, I can't go. Like, I cannot do this. And I was like, they're gonna make fun of me again. Like, I just can't deal with this again. Like, why am I putting myself in this position? And he was like, this is all you have talked about for 2 weeks. You're gonna regret this if you don't go. And I remember he was like sitting there in that chair in our kitchen, just looking at me. And I was like, yeah, I can't go. And he was like, are you serious? And I was like, yeah, I can't go. And he goes, okay, well, I'm gonna go upstairs and change my clothes. And I was like, well, what do you mean? And he goes, well, if you're not gonna go, we're not gonna go. He goes, but I'm not gonna play this game of back and forth. He was like, but I'm gonna tell you right now, you're gonna regret it if you don't go. I know you, and you're gonna regret it if you don't go. And I just looked at him, and my friend was like, I don't care, we don't have to go, I don't wanna go anyway. And I was like, no, he's right, we need to go. Look at the sky, how pretty it is. And I was like, he's right, I need to go, because I'm gonna regret this if I don't. So we went. And I'm glad I went. But then the 25th I didn't go to, and it was like, I would say like a third of the size as the 20th. And that was I was supposed to go. It was my birthday weekend, and I ended up judging this pageant with my friend Courtney that was in my thing, that was in my, God, that's so weird. The night of my vlog, when Courtney was in my car, my good friend Courtney, was the last night I saw Jason, Alex's friend. He passed away, like, after that. That's so weird. We were dancing on the... what do you call it? On the racetrack that night. I was telling Alex, we were, like, sitting at some restaurant. I felt it like the first time when we were in the airport on the way there, and then but I didn't want to say it like early in the morning, but like I feel like I see him everywhere, like not like ghost images, but like I feel like I look at someone and be like, oh, is that, oh, it's not Jason, but like it looks like him, you know. And I felt like that a lot when my mom first passed away too. Like I would see like people that looked like her a lot from the back and things like that. But anyway, I'll go to the 30th, and I'll get excited about it. The thing is, I'll have to find somebody to go with, because I'm not going to walk into that reunion by myself. I mean, Alex will go, obviously, but like, to meet up like with another friend, I don't know. Maybe I won't have a hard time walking into that. I'm kind of a different person when it comes to stuff like that today. I used to work myself up so bad. Like I say, my social anxiety is still really bad, and it is. But like, I don't have like the same, like it's not as hard for me anymore as it used to be to just kind of like pull it together and be like, okay, you're going in. And just like, you know, going in. It's so pretty. It's like pink all through over there. So I don't know, maybe it won't be that hard for me. I love that scene in Pretty Woman when she's like, not Pretty Woman, Pretty in Pink, and Annie Potts is talking to Molly Ringwald, and she's like, well, you have to go. She's talking about the prom. She's like, well, you have to go. And Molly Ringwald's like, well, you don't have to go. It's not a requirement. And she's like, I knew this one woman one time, and you know, she would like have these days where she like would feel like something was off, and she'd like, you know, like check to see where her keys were and count her kids. And then one day she realized, look at this sky, you guys. I have to just show you this. This is not so pretty. Look at that. Kind of reminds me of Arizona a little bit. And she was like, and then one day she realized it was because she didn't go to prom. And then she says something like, you know, you're gonna regret it if you don't go. And like, I know that about my reunion, you know, like if I don't go, I will regret it. I'll be like, you should have just gone. You probably, the thing is like, I don't have anything to prove to anybody anymore. You know, I don't. So maybe this will be my experience of going and just actually being able to enjoy having some fun, you know, and seeing where people are at that I went to high school with 30 years later. But I think a lot of the people that are going to come to it, because like when I'm like reading the threads and stuff, they're like, I wasn't able to come to the 10 and I wasn't able to come to the 20, but I'm definitely coming to this. I'm like, I wonder if there's going to be like a lot of people at this one, you know? Reunions aren't like how they seem in TV shows, like, you know, in Designing Women when they get the award out for like most changed and all that. Like that's not like, well, ours, we didn't do that. I do remember this one girl that I had been friends with for a while, like when I was like in early junior high. And she just became such a phony in high school. And I really couldn't stand her. And I remember I saw her at the 20 year. And you could just tell, like, from, like, the way, like, you could just tell she was still very pretentious. And so she, like, just stopped me, like, with her husband. And she was like, and we literally had not talked like a word since 6th grade, right? And so she just kind of stopped and looked at me and like put her arm on me and she goes, so what are you doing today? Like, or she was like, so what are you up to these days? And I thought, okay, like she didn't say like, hey Peter, how are you? It's good to see you. Or she was like, so what are you up to these days? And I was like thinking to myself, like we didn't go to water parks in 6th grade and you never talked to me another day in high school again as long as we lived. Like, you know what I mean? Like, can we just call it out for what it is? Like, I don't need you to say that, but can we actually act like real human beings here for a second, that we used to spend every day together the entire summer of 6th grade after that, and then you never talked to me again? You know what I mean? Like, ever. Never another day did you talk to me again in high school or whatever. You acted like I didn't exist. Now you want to tell me about all your fancy living? I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, let's keep it human here for just a second, right? And I was like, oh, well, like I'm doing this and I'm doing that and whatever. And she goes, which apparently was an open invitation for her to tell me like everything that she's doing with her life. That's fantastic, right? And so then, and she was like, and then she like asked me again something about what I did, like she wasn't listening, and she goes, interesting, or something like that. And then she like walked, and then she was like, okay, well, it's good seeing you. And then she walked up to the next person, and she goes, and I was standing right there, literally like 2 feet away, and she just stood there for a second, and then she put her hand on their arm, she goes, so, what are you up to these days? And I thought, she trained herself, like she practiced this in front of the mirror before she came here. This is so sad, right? So anyway, some of us are worse off than others, I guess. But she did friend me on the Facebook, and then I had to see like everything that her kids are doing all the time. the other day. So like, I never post pictures on Facebook, you guys. Like, I mean, rarely. I like never post really anything on Facebook. I hardly get on Facebook or anything, but recently I do. I have been, and a little bit more, and I don't know why, I just have been. And because a lot of my friends are just like, they're just on Facebook. And so I posted this picture that I posted on Instagram of like Alex and I, right? Like when we were in Miami, and I said something like, I don't know, like, love our fun little weekends away in Miami or whatever. And like the next day I looked at it, like I totally fell down that hole that like how people think about Facebook, you know? And the next day I looked at it and it had like 6 likes on it, and I was like, oh my God, nobody even liked my picture, which is like so stupid, right? And I could care less about that shit. Like, I seriously, like, I could care less about it. Like, this whole thing, but I thought it was so funny because I have like friends of mine that are like, did you see my picture on Facebook? You didn't like it, right? And here I had turned into that person. I mean, I really don't care about that. But you know, it's like this whole thing that's going around that people are talking about how Instagram is going to take the likes away from pictures, which I think is going to ruin businesses, influencer businesses, because literally when influencer businesses want to sponsor you, they want to look at your analytics and the way that they can gauge your engagement and I mean, I don't get a lot of sponsorships on Instagram, but I know people that do. And the way that they, you know, can like look at your engagement is by your likes, your comments, and what people say. If you can't see your likes anymore in a picture, although a lot of people buy them, like it's gonna hurt that business, I think. But I think that, you know, on the outside of that, first of all, I think today, fake or real, likes on a picture on Instagram, to a lot of people, I don't really ever care about that kind of stuff, whether I get, you know, 100 or, well, I never usually get more than like a couple thousand likes on a picture, but whatever. I like never look at it that way. The comments are what I like to look at, but and I get so many messages on Instagram, you guys. I'm not even lying to you, get like 30 or 50 messages a day on Instagram. So if you send me a message on Instagram, I'm sorry. I try so hard to keep up, but I just can't. Twitter is the same way, and my emails are the same way, and I like try to do a little bit of it all, and I just really struggle keeping up with it. So, what was I gonna say? Oh, but I think like for people that like their confidence level or their self-concept or self-esteem, I don't like necessarily love the word self-esteem, but like self-concept, their self-concept level is attached to social media likes and things like that. I think it will be good. I think it will be healthy. I think, look at the sky now. This looks like cotton candy. Isn't that so pretty? It's free, by the way, to look at the sky and notice how beautiful it is in the morning. I think we live in a world where many of us, I think, measure our success, our likability, our whatever it is, you know, on likes and views and all that kind of stuff. And I think that maybe that pendulum is about to switch. I think maybe Instagram is going to be the beginning of that, you know? Well, YouTube did it too. So like on YouTube, if you look at your subscriber count now, it doesn't read the same way as it used to. Before it would have the exact amount, and now it rounds down, actually, which I think is interesting that they chose to round down instead of up. So like if you have, let's say, well, I don't know, like, but they round down. So if you have like 105,490, like 999, it won't read 106,000. It will read 105,000. And what's interesting is that people go to Social Blade now, because Social Blade is the way that you can like look at, you know, how many subscribers and views you get on a video and stuff like that. And people will go to it and they'll go, you gained 1,000 subscribers in a day, or you lost 10,000. No. That's not how it works. It's because they can only, Social Blade is basing it off of what YouTube is doing now, and they can only see in measure in hundreds or thousands or 10,000s or 100,000s, that every time you gain like another 10,000 or another 100 or whatever, it measures it in that way. So it looks like you're gaining that, but you're not really, if that makes sense, per Social Blade. But like in the Creator app for YouTubers, you can see your exact number. Like I could get on my Creator app for any of my channels and see what the exact number of subscribers is. But I think it's good. I think it's a beginning to things changing. You know, I think when we base popularity and success over, oh my, the battery is dying, over how many, you know, we have, how many likes you have, how many subscribers you have, and all that kind of stuff. So it'll be interesting to see what happens going forward, and how much that changes. Okay, I'm gonna get off here now because the battery is dying and the sun is almost up. Sun comes up, it's Tuesday morning. Do you guys like the Cowboy Junkies? I love the Cowboy Junkies. Anyway, I hope you guys are having an amazing, what is today, Wednesday? I hope you're having an amazing Wednesday, unless you have other plans. But like I always say, do not have other plans. Enjoy your day to the most. You're exchanging a day of your life for it. Life is not a dress rehearsal. Do something today that will make you proud when you look back on it. Do something today that will make you happy. And treat people nicely, treat people with compassion. And if nobody else has told you this today, I love you. Make sure that you look at yourself in the mirror every single day and you do your positive affirmations and you tell yourself that you love yourself every single day. I love you, you are valuable, you are worthy, you are important. Most importantly, make sure that you pass it on to somebody else and let them know how important they are to you. Thank you guys for watching my videos. You are important to me, and you make me feel liked, and it's nice to be liked. So I appreciate it, and I love you guys, and I will, don't forget to pass it on to somebody else. That's the most important part. And I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye. Love ya. Love ya. Love ya, love ya, love ya.